everybody. Danielle, привет, мой брат. Are you still in France? Go back and see everybody there in Lille. Ready to get started here on the Vital Axiom. It's about time to roll the show, so we got to get on with the program here, guys. Let's do it. I'm ready to get to it. Sorry, I dropped my paper. How you guys doing today? Trying to turn something down over here. Good to see you guys on the Vital Axiom. Hey, Denise. Hey, welcome into the Vital Axiom. We've been doing this for a bit, for a while, for a long time, for a bit of a season, and it's all going. It's all doing good. Let me see who's on here. I got three people, three whole folks over on Periscope. I just see Denise is the only one that shows up. How you guys on Facebook doing? I get everybody's name here. Pam's here and Cindy. What's up, Cindy? Jennifer and Athea and Pamela's here and Carol's here. Miguel, Michael's here. And Joe is in the house. Sandra. Larry Doty, they call him. What are you guys doing? Welcome in. Today is number 685. 685. Can you believe it, like my handwriting? I can't do nice and neat like Jonathan does when he's here on the show. But today's number 685, and we've been here for a bit. Now, do I feel as tired as I look, or look as tired as I feel? I don't know. It was a good weekend. Wow. Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? I think I need to change that. And we had a great conference this weekend. Casey Doss was here. Man, last night Savannah Helton tore it up. You need to go watch the video on Facebook. It was really good. And great worship and great words. Casey, 3 messages Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night. So good. Such timely stuff for our church and our people. And I'm just flat wore out. I didn't make it. 143 salvations. That's awesome, man. I didn't get to make it this year. I really wanted to come. What's up, Brian? How you doing? Hey, Luann. You guys need to go look at Luann's Facebook page. Her little grandbaby son singing last night on, we had open mic. Hey, John. You guys want to sing this song with me? Most of you know it's kind of a popular song, kind of almost becoming old now. And let's sing it together. runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love. Your love. Oh, your love. Your love. Oh, I'm thankful for your great love. You're constant and you're always there, loving me and leading me and helping me. When I fall on my face, you pick me up again. Take me by my hand, your love. I'm thankful for the love of God. I don't really know where I would be without it, because I've made so many blunders and blues and blow-ups in my life, and His grace is sufficient. There is something there about your heart motivation. You know, there's one thing to just like living in sin and wanting God to cover, and there's another thing to be trying and doing your best and just needing God's grace to help you get through. And I'm in that place. Let me get a sip of water. I decided to go ahead and talk a little bit more this week about this selfless idea. It's a God idea, by the way. It's not my idea. God's idea for us to be selfless. And I want to give you a unique perspective. Hey, Rhonda. And hey, everybody. Everybody's saying yo and hey and stuff. And thanks for the promotion there for the broadcast. And I want to talk to you a little bit about life and this thing about selflessness. And let's get another practical picture this week. I want to give you another practical picture where we can say, okay, so how does it look in my life? If I'm a selfless person, when do I see that? If I've really got a handle on, you know, humility and really loving and considering other people, then okay, tell me how I would see that in my life, and where can I look and find evidence? Because obviously, talk is worthless. It's really when it becomes some part of who you are, that it begins to develop credibility. And it's not that we're looking for credibility with people. We don't want to be hypocrites. And that's always a challenge. It's so easy to come to church and say all the right things and then go home and do all the wrong things. And so the challenge for us is to be who we say we are, and that's difficult. I mean, you know, living a Christian life is really a challenge. It's an uphill battle because the world and the enemy and darkness is against us. The world hates conservatism. They hate the idea that we could say, you know, here's a set of rules that God's given us that we need to live our lives by, and the world doesn't like that because we don't want any rules. We don't want anybody to, you know, to cramp our style, as they used to say. So let me ask you. I'll start out by asking you a couple of questions. How many of you have? Here's kind of a short list, but you can think about it, and I think all of us would say yes. How many of you have troubles? Just checking. Raise your hand if you're sure. It wasn't too bad. Actually, I can smell my underarm deodorant, and I'm just, what? Okay. I told you I was tired today. How many of you have troubles in your life? How many of you have something going on, some kind of trouble? How many of you have problems? Maybe not trouble, but you got problems you can't solve. You're trying to figure out. How many of you have issues in your life, like personal issues, like stuff in your, you know, like your inside that you're kind of working on? How many of you are maybe even under some kind of attack in your life? And I think probably all of us would go, me? That's me right there, buddy. You pegged me. Troubles and problems and issues and attacks in our life, we have stuff that comes against us. Rhonda said, me. Her hand's already up. How many of you have that going on? And you know, the reality of it is that we all have to face things. Everybody on planet Earth has to face things. We go through stuff. We're going to go through stuff. We're going to deal with things. And I want to kind of set that. I want to kind of set that stage because we're going to go somewhere. Hey, Donnie Joe. 1 Peter 5:6, humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant. Now, I want you to listen to the rest of this. Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, notice the word as, walketh about seeking whom he might or may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith. And I want you to see, this is the part of 1 Peter 5 that I want you to really look at. Knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. which means this. All of us, everybody, all of us are going to go through things. Everybody is. You're not going to escape it. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you that this you're going to, become a Christian and then everything in your whole life is going to be like hunky-dory, smooth sailing. That's not the reality. The reality of it is you're still going to go through stuff. You just won't be alone anymore. You won't be on your own in your own power. But you have the power of the Holy Spirit, the love of God, the strength of God to help you get through it. And it says, but I want you to see the last part of that. It said, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. In other words, it's kind of the same no matter what country you're in. You have to deal with people. No matter what country you live in, you have to deal with weather. No matter what country you live in, you have to deal with your body. And no matter what country or what your race or nationality is, you have to deal with your own emotions and your own struggles and the way you were raised and abuses you went through. All of us, we have to understand that we are all struggling and we're not alone. We're going through stuff. Now, I said, what does that have to do with being selfless? Well, we're going to get there. But I want to kind of set a little platform before we move in that direction to talk to you about your life. Going through some things. Psalms 34:19 says, many are the afflictions. The first word was many. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of all of them, it says, out of them all. So now we know that we are going to face many afflictions in our life. And I think if all the people here that are signing in and people are leaving comments, if we sat down and talked with them, we'd find out, yep, you too. It'd be like a Me Too movement. It's like, you've had financial crisis. Yeah. You've had marital crisis. Mm-hmm. You've had relationship crisis. Mm-hmm. You've had children crisis. Yep. You've had car crisis. You've had electric bill crisis. I mean, I don't know. We all have these things in our life, but the Bible says the Lord delivers us or brings us through all of those things. So we're always going to have struggles to face. Now you say, I thought we were talking about selflessness. We are, but I want to talk to you about selflessness really revealing itself in certain areas of your life and certain circumstances. I want you to kind of get a picture. And hey, Donnie, what's up, buddy? Or Becky, or everybody, or hey, Princess and Angela, and DJ's here, Donald J. Mullins, and Kathy and Rhonda, Nathan. We all have struggles to face. Every one of us have those things we're going to go through. And now I want you to, I want to change gears for a minute, and then we're going to come back to this. We got a few minutes left on the show. What do these books have in common? Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. You say, what do they have in common? Well, okay, most of you that know a little bit about the Bible would say, well, those were written by Paul. That's good. We're going the right direction. Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. These are books in the Bible. If you don't know that, if you don't read the Bible, you don't know anything about the Bible. These are books that were written to churches, the church at Ephesus, church at Philippi, Colossus. These are books that are letters that are, personal handwritten letters that were written to these places. But do you know what these specifically, because there's a lot more, Paul wrote a lot of letters. Do you know what these specific books have in common? I want to share something with you that maybe you've never known, that these 4 books specifically were written while Paul was in prison. So what they have in common is that they were all written by Paul when he was a prisoner for his faith, when he was being persecuted for being a Christian. Hey, Rhonda, how's Allison doing? Hey, Princess. These are all letters that were written by Paul when he was in prison. And I want you to think about this for a minute. Remember, I just asked you a minute ago, do you have any troubles in your life, any issues, any attacks, anything going on in your life? I would consider prison kind of like a big deal. I don't know, maybe you would or not, especially prisons from those days. Those prisons are like yikes, like ouch, like yuck, like horrible, like terrible, like filthy, like uncomfortable, like brutal. I mean, prison in Paul's day was a place. I mean, nobody wants to go to prison, but today, and I'm not saying prisons are good, but I'm saying today the prisoners have 3 square meals, places to exercise. They have a comfortable bed with sheets and free clothing, and they can do letters and watch some television. Depending on your prison, you have some privileges. Paul was chained in the belly of a lot of the prisons he was in. He was beaten. Actually, in one place in the Bible, Paul lists all the places where he was beaten with rods and in prison and all these things. So these 4 letters, now I want you to think about it just for a minute. Paul's in prison. And while in prison, he writes 4 letters to 4 churches. 4 letters to 4 churches. Now, remember, I asked you, how many of you are having troubles in your life? How many of you have issues in your life? How many of you are in a place where you're going through something? And so I want you to kind of think about it just for a minute. So Paul writes 4 letters while he's in prison. These are letters of love and correction and discipleship, and they're all from a prison cell. She's discharged from the hospital in the morning. Wow, that's amazing. Got to stay in the area. Not ready to actually go home. I get that. I'll read the rest of that in a moment. So Paul, now think about it. I'm trying to set a stage for you, okay, because we're going to get into your life in a little while. I'm trying to set a stage for you. Paul, while in prison, is thinking about other people. While in prison, he's worried about or concerned about or feels responsibility toward the churches at Ephesus and Philippi. He has this thing in his heart for them while he's in prison, while he's going through junk, while he's under the pressure of the enemy and the people that hated him in those days. Let me just real quick, in the last minute or so here, read a little bit to you. Paul, a prisoner of Jesus. This is Philemon. This is a letter to Philemon. This is what he said. Paul, a prisoner of Jesus Christ, and Timothy, our brother, unto Philemon, our dearly beloved fellow laborer. So he's writing him a letter. Grace and peace to you, and peace from God our Father and Lord Jesus Christ. I thank my God. Now listen to what he's saying now. I'm in prison. I thank my God, making mention of these always in my prayers. So first of all, Paul's in prison. That's a bad thing. He's going through a tough time in his life. And yet, his heart and mind are toward Philemon, and he's praying for him. Now, I want you to let that settle in your heart just a minute. I'm going to ask you in a few minutes what you would be doing if you were in prison. Maybe I'll ask you tomorrow. Hearing of your love and faith which you have toward the Lord Jesus and toward all the saints. All these other concerns while he's in prison. I want you to think about that just for a minute, because we're talking about this idea of being selfless, having selfless love. And here's Paul in prison, all these concerns, all these prayers while he's in prison. While he's in a prison cell, while he's in there, he's thinking about Philemon and writing him while he's in prison. Himself, under the pressure, the scrutiny, he's all in that prison doing that for the people, toward the people, loving the people. So here's my question. We'll close with this today. If you were in a prison cell, who would be on your mind, and who would you be concerned about as far as ministry or love is concerned? I have to read that in a minute, Rhonda. I have to check that out. Who would be on your mind? So you're in prison for your faith because of Jesus. You're in prison, being tortured, persecuted. You've lost your freedom, and now you're in pain and probably illness, losing weight, eating garbage. Who would you be thinking about or praying for? So, because I'm going to ask you, some of you are going through some stuff. We said that. Who would you be lifting up? Who would you write a letter to about to encourage them to know the Lord and to walk with God? I mean, I want you to get this, because we're talking about selflessness. If we're talking about the idea that we are selfless, I want you to think today, if you were locked up in prison for Christ in a Roman prison, what would your attitude be? Would it be like, God, I'm mad at you, or get me out of here? Or would you be just sincerely seeking the Lord for other people? Writing letters to them about their faith and encouraging them. I want you to think about that a little bit, because that's what we're going to pick up tomorrow as we talk about being selfless. And we're going to find out if whatever you're going through, you can still treat people with godliness and love people. Okay, that's it for me. I think I'm done. There's the credit rollout music. You guys have a great day. We're out of here. See you tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. on the Vital Axiom. I'm getting ready to go have lunch with my mom and dad. I can see them in the foyer. They just arrived. Love you guys. Go back and watch, Catherine. You guys have a great day. That's all for me. We're out of here. Share the show with somebody.